Are your kids impressed by you because you're like a Marvel superhero?
If my kids are impressed by me, they're doing an incredible job hiding it from me.
Yeah, go deep.
In nail salons or becoming lawyers. That was all you Americans did in my head.
That's my favorite.
Every time we go somewhere, they call him Dead Grandpa Greg, and we feel like that's...
Oh my God! When did you first learn about Dr. King? How young were you?
I actually was kind of born into it, if that makes sense. There was a photograph that was in my house my entire life. And in that photograph was a picture of my grandparents, Dr. King, and my mother. And I never knew who he was until I learned about Dr. King. And when I learned about Dr. King is when I felt even more proud, because apparently he had showed up for my mother's 21st birthday. My grandfather was a minister in Ohio, and he was in town around the time of my mom's birthday. And so he came by to have dinner with my grandparents and my mom on her 21st birthday. So I grew up with that picture. So it was kind of inherent, in my opinion. And I would talk to my grandfather often about his relationship with Dr. King and, you know, the work that they were doing locally there in Cleveland, Ohio.
How do you teach your kids about their heritage, like these stories that you experience? Because it's powerful.
Well, you know, I think there's something to be said for age-appropriate learning. And I think what happened for me, and I don't know if this happens for everybody, but I can say this happened for me. So when my son was 3, he was given a book about Jackie Robinson and Rosa Parks. And the problem I had is I started reading the books, and then I realized this is not a good idea because I'm not ready to teach the context of why Jackie Robinson was a hero or why Rosa Parks was a hero. Because at that point, you have to express that there was some form of oppression, correct? I think you have to, for me, this is what I want to do with my kids, is I think you have to empower young Black children by teaching them that they came from royalty as queens and kings in Africa first, before you impair them with the knowledge of systemic racism and oppression, and that is their origin story here in America.
How long have you known each other, though? You both?
Since I was 17 years old.
Wait, 17?
And I was 5.
No, wait, what's that story? What do you mean 17 years old? How did you meet?
Well, I used to teach dance and cheerleading camps, and where we were teaching a lot, I thought of an idea to give the winners who would win in competitions the concerts that were in town, and it just so happened to be Journey, and I got all these cheerleaders who won, you know, prizes and awards to come to the show, and I took them backstage, and we were all in our cheer gear, and we met Randy as the bass player.
Oh, that's so crazy.
And I was wearing crazy outfits, Kels.
You were wearing crazy outfits?
Yeah, you know, you had to at that time. You know how the dog does it.
I love you so much. Well, wait, Paula, there's something else that I found interesting. I did not know until yesterday. Did Michael Bolton sing lullabies when he babysat you?
Yeah.
He babysat you?
Yeah.
Well, yes, 'cause I lived in a condominium, and my oldest sister, Wendy, was really good friends with Michael, and his name was Michael Bolton. That was his name, and he was an aspiring singer in Connecticut. And he used to come out in the summers because he had his girlfriend, who ended up being his wife later on, Maureen. And we were all together, and I would be in my brownie uniform, and no one wanted to babysit. And we'd make Michael would have to babysit, but he was the worst babysitter because all he cared about was music.
That panned out, though, didn't it? It was
and then Paula and I connected again because when Perry left the band when Journey broke up, after the last tour that I was on with them, we did a record with Michael Bolton. We did Sitting on the Dock of the Bay and When a Man Loves a Woman. And I was in LA, and Paula and I hung out with Michael Bolton and Irene Cara. God, Paula, we lived some life, yo.
Isn't that crazy how different the chapters, like you look at your life in almost like chapters? It's insane, like, you know, who comes in and out and who comes back around. It's a crazy thing. Is it true that you auditioned for the movie right after your prom? You're so young.
Yeah, it was my university prom, and because I had to go for shooting another movie, maybe around 7, 8 a.m., I had to be picked up from home. I get home by 5 a.m. and I was like, okay, it's not enough time to fall asleep because it's gonna be like 2 hours and I probably are gonna be late. What should I do? And I was like, should I try to record something for this audition if it was a legit audition? Because it was basically a friend of mine told me that they've been searching for a lead actress for a big budget Hollywood movie. And I was like, oh no, that sounds so fake. It's not even possible. It's never happened before. And I was like, these people that are sending it, they're gonna be just kidnapped and I'm not doing it. But I decided to do it for a joke. And probably like 2-3 hours later when I was traveling to the wilds, and Julian called me and he was like, they want to see another self-tape and they want to jump on a video call. And I was like, but I have no service. So then I asked my producers and directors to drive me to the nearest city the next day, and I catch a little bit of Wi-Fi, and then I met half of the team over call, and I recorded another one the next day, and that's how it started.
It's such a crazy thing. The whole story about you just getting done with prom, you're doing some random thing in the wild, and then this movie. I mean, I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything happens for a reason, and you were obviously meant to do this film. Are your kids impressed by you because you're like a Marvel superhero?
If my kids are impressed by me, they're doing an incredible job hiding it from me. So no, they don't talk to me. And my daughter has just always tortured me with preferring other superheroes to me. And now what she's done is just moved on entirely from Marvel and said she's only interested in Star Wars. So, I mean, she's an incredibly cruel child, you know, so...
Awesome. I heard that you had, this was pretty cool though. I heard somewhere that you were on the phone with Robert Downey Jr. and like your kid overheard you on the phone with him. That would be, my kids would be impressed if Iron Man was on the phone with me, I'm just saying.
Well, this was at a time, well, you see, yes, that sort of happened. What really happened was she told me that she preferred Iron Man to me, and I told Robert Downey. And then Downey got on the phone with her, and at that point, she'd already moved on to Mark Ruffalo, you know, so she wasn't going to actually give that to Robert Downey Jr. It was very funny.
Hey, you know what? She's just keeping her options open. I can respect that. What do your kids think about the book? Are they excited about it? Like my girl didn't get it for a while that it was named after her. Like I have one and she didn't get it for a while. Now she thinks it's super cool. But what do your kids think?
They didn't get it either. Like you get to the end of the book and they'd be like, Mommy, why are you in the book?
Why is your picture? Yeah.
They didn't, yes, exactly the same thing. Didn't get it at all. And then sometimes he'll be Milo will be literally like, hold my face, and he'll do this thing where he holds it and gives me a big smooch and he goes, Mum, that was a movie star kiss. It's so lovely. I love this book. And then other times, because he's a 4-year-old, it's slightly Jekyll and Hyde, and you never really know what you're going to get, right? You know that feeling,
amen.
Right? And so the one night he says to me, Mum, he's a bit like a teenager at this point. Mum, you know your book, it says I can do anything. I says, yes, Milo, you can. If you put your mind to something and you find something you love and you want to work hard, you can do anything you want to do. And he's like, well, that's not true, is it? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He says, well, that's not true, because what I want to do is I want to take a koala home from the zoo, bring it here and keep it as a pet. I can't do that, can I?
He's very literal.
And through my head, I'm going, Cat Dealey's kid kidnaps koala and kills it from zoo. You know, like I'm thinking that. And I'm like, oh, no. You can't do that. You can't do that. I said, but what you can do, and you know in those, and I'm sure we've all had those moments where You know when they ask you something and your brain is like racing, trying to find the right answer, and you can almost hear your brain work, and it's like, and you're coming, it's almost like a drum roll for when you come up with the answer, and you're going as fast as you can. And I said, no, Miley, you absolutely can't do that. I said, but what you can do is if you go to school and you study really hard, and maybe you might study something called biology, and then you can study something called zoology and go to university, then you could be in charge of all the koalas at the zoo, or you could even travel to the other side of the planet, which is as far as you can get to Australia, which is where koalas come from. And you could go to a sanctuary and you could help koalas who don't have a mom and dad, and you could feed them.
Answer.
And I left it like that, and I was in my head, I was like high-fiving myself and all the rest of it, and he just looked at me like that.
He's like, not the same.
All right, Mum. All right, Mum. All right.
I guess I'll accept that answer. Ella, congratulations on the success of Dickinson. You have a great American accent in the show. Was that a lot of practice? Was that hard?
So one of my favorite things to do as a child was to, well, first off, I was just obsessed with Legally Blonde and really American culture as a whole. And my favorite thing to do for my friends, or the thing I did to make them laugh, was to pretend I was an American woman at a nail salon. So I'd be like, oh my God, I just broke a nail. How do I fix it? Do I get the blush? Do I get the rouge? Like, that was what I did for my friends.
First of all,
Excellent.
I know, but I love that she said, well, I was obsessed with American culture. Like, I loved Legally Blonde. And I'm like, just so you know, there's more to us than Legally Blonde.
You've
got to dive deeper, Ella. You've got to dive deeper.
Yeah, go deep.
In nail salons or becoming lawyers. That was all you Americans did in my head.
That's my favorite.
My question to you is, have you ever said something to your kid that you later wish that you hadn't because they repeated it? And then how do you get your kids to understand that sometimes, you know, things that are said in the household need to stay in the household?
Oh, God, when you know that answer, let me know.
Let us know.
I'm going to be honest with you. I just thought of this. I thought, I don't really have anything for that. And then my daughter became obsessed when she was like 4 years old about where she came from. And I was like, and then she started being nervous about death. Like, and I was like, what is happening? Like, she was at 4? Like, I feel like that didn't happen like 10 for me, but whatever. But anyway, she's advanced. And she was talking about death and all these things, and I wanted her to feel like good about like not dying or like anything like that. And then also like, well, you were a part of mommy, and then, you know, so you'll always have me. So even if mommy dies, like you were a part of me. You were in mommy's tummy actually. So like you were always a part of me, and like, so that'll never go away. You're from my body. So like you carry mommy on. So, you know, in a sense, mommy will never die with you because I'm a part of you. And then she took that as in any woman in the world, regardless if you have a stomach or not, walks up to and goes, so you have a baby in there?
Oh, yeah.
And just doesn't matter who it is, and just is very excited that, don't worry, if you die, she's still gonna carry you on. Like, it's still, like, and it's like, you missed we shouldn't tell people that they're pregnant. That's another one you should, yep, that happened a lot.
You know what, my 4-year-old was obsessed with death. Both of our kids were obsessed with death. And when you're trying to explain it, you gotta simplify it, you know, because it's too much for them to handle. So we had to explain that Grandpa Greg had died and was no longer with us. And then they were like, why? And we're like, because he ate too many cheeseburgers. Because you can't, if you go down the list of ailments he had, you'd be there, they'd lose focus. So then like, every time we go somewhere, they call him Dead Grandpa Greg, and we feel like that's...
Oh my God!
And, you know, we're too
Dead Grandpa.
It's accurate,
It's accurate. He did like
They're not
cheeseburgers.
wrong.
He had an appetite for a lot of things.
Oh my gosh.
My kids know that there's no baby in here, but they'll come when I'm like wearing my relaxing pants, you know, my loose evening pants, and go, there's a baby in there.
Oh my gosh.
It's a food baby.
First of all, can we talk that you just said loose, relaxed? What did you call them? Your loose evening
my
pants?
comfy pants.
Your loose evening pants. I love you. My loose evening pen. So it's like, I love you. Your house is fancy.
Yeah, she has a very fancy name for it.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm all
very
like
evening
my
wear.
Lululemons that I don't do yoga in.